Thank you, Yasser. Yes, I'm here with Anish Giri after a game without much history. Anish, did you decide to play the Grunfeld knowing that Shaq is probably going to go into this line?
Not exactly knowing, but I wanted to have it clear. Like, I don't want this, know what I'm talking about. You want to know, like, what the guy wants. Like, not that, this, like, yeah, and then, like, maybe, like, this. No, just, do you want to draw or do you want to play? Okay, you want to draw? Fine.
Go into this line, of
Fine,
course.
Okay.
Okay, not much history in today's game, so I'm going to work you a little bit in order to analyze all the other games that are still going on. So, which one do you want to go to?
Let's see from the start. Grischuk, Caruana, very interesting. You know what's fascinating about these lines is that you can play a4 and d4 in different orders, and bishop g4 is there at various points. So, for example, here, black can start with b5, bishop b3, bishop c5. But now there is the move a4, and you cannot play bishop g4 at all.
Correct.
You can also go, okay, I'm just sort of pretending.
Of course,
no. Pretending that, this. But bishop c5, the point is that now there is the extra option bishop c2, which we saw, for example, the sharp line we saw a couple of days ago in the game of Fabiano. But now the point is, if you do go bishop b3, d6, now, for example, a4, you can already go bishop g4. You can do it here, which is very different from doing it here, because white has committed himself to d4. For example, if a4 first, and then bishop g4, white could play in some positions, directly or in some positions, move like d3. And then there is no tension in the center at all. And the bishop on g4 is very interesting because it is pinning the knight, but sometimes, if we, let's say, imagine a position like this,
it's going to get hit.
It could get sort of stuck here, and then it's a trade-off. The bishop is out of play because it's cut off by these pawns, d3, e4 pawn especially, yeah? Not that we didn't put d4. But at the same time, g4 weakens the king. So you get these fascinating positions. It's not clear at all if Fabiano wanted to go bishop g4, but Alexander played d4 and a4, and now Fabiano uses this option to go bishop g4. There are moves like bishop b7, also move rook b8, but bishop g4 is one of those, and I think this is a very exciting theoretical battle. And
this usually goes into those lines where white gets a pawn, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I think it's not that one. No, I think that one you speak about is rook b8 first.
Rook b8 and then
there is this knight a3 business with castle. I don't remember which first castle. Now bishop g4.
Bishop g4 now. Yeah.
Bishop g4 first. It could lead to this kind of business, like for example, your engine immediately shows this kind of murky business, like. Here, and that's super weird because you've got the open G file for sort of attack. At the same time, there is some potential for, like, if it were an endgame, maybe bishop would be forever stuck. This famous Capablanca game. But here the king is way too weak, and so G4 is probably too much. So you've got this very messed up situation. White has some light square domination, but it's shaky. F5 is coming. This is just one of the many lines, and I'm hoping for Grischuk that he's well prepped. He should be, honestly. When the guy played it 2 days ago, you have to be prepared.
He's thinking, though.
Yeah, he's always thinking.
He's always thinking.
Yeah. But I suspect bishop g4 might not have been at the top of his list. As far as I know, bishop b7 is what a lot of players play with this move order. I think it's what Levon played as well. So probably bishop b7 was his priority number one. Rook b8 also he had to check. But bishop g4 he must have looked at it as well. I mean, he must have. And now he's, of course, also, maybe he thought, for example, that white was better, according to his notes. Or he thought it is not an interesting line for black, so he's wondering, well, Fabi plays it nonetheless, maybe what is he thinking? What have I missed? Can I still jump out of my prep? Do I want to jump out of my prep? Do I remember my prep? All these thoughts.
Also, it seems like Fabiano is definitely enjoying stirring the game into this type of super wild battles.
Fabiano is really, he loves taking up a fight with black whenever possible. He's provoking the fight always with the black pieces. It's very admirable, but as we can see, it's always a double-edged sword. He plays under the assumption that he is a better player in complicated positions, and that assumption is sort of correct. But I think when you face a player as strong as Grischuk and all the other top players, it's not a given that all these complicated battles he's going to win them. And right now in the tournament, he's struggling on -1, surprisingly. So nonetheless, I mean, I respect his approach, and when it works very well. Sometimes he's able to win games with white and with black. But it is a very risky approach, and it's also very demanding. You have to work so hard to keep finding these ideas because, to make a move like bishop g4 work, you need to spend hours and hours because the engine says first white is better. You have to make sure that, and then you think, like, what are the odds of white losing it anyway? White has like hundreds of ways to equalize. So, like, it's a lot of work for some kind of interesting reward, and he's taking these chances.
He's a very hard worker, and it usually pays off, but mostly when he's in good shape. When he's in bad shape, it can backfire.
Yeah, of course. When you are in bad shape, you really want to go towards the simple options, but he maybe doesn't have them. He prepares with the assumption that he's in good shape, And then when it comes to this game, maybe he no longer can play the Petrov. Maybe he forgot all the variations already from the World Championship prep. So now he has to enter the mess. And already he's entering the mess, and now it's already, like this Russian roulette. He's wounded, but he has to still take a shot and see what happens.
Absolutely. This one is definitely very exciting. Let's jump on to the Wesley versus MVL game.
Wowzers. Yeah,
What's
this theory. As the YouTube comments say, this is all theory. Knight h4, knight d4 in this order is what Maxim played a couple of times in the World Cup a few years back. Knight b5, knight dc6, d4, a6, d5. I remember this as well. I've studied this line. And yes, I've looked at all this business actually.
For a second, I thought that we were going to see a quick draw with king f1, king e2.
Oh, here.
Yeah, with knight d3.
No. Yeah, but knight d3 of course also allows queen e2, which is a serious line.
Yeah.
Now, Maxim plays knight e6, and according to my notes, black is holding, I guess, and we see here a variation also of this engine. I don't think it's so weak. Probably, it's probably kind of forced. Queen h5, h6, and white can of course trade and then get this opposite colored bishops. This engine gives a small plus, but probably it's not much.
Go something like this.
If you were in time to get the bishop on the long diagonal, it would be great. But king on f1 still needs, let's say, computer spends the whole tempo on this, but then black gets some moves, and bishop d2 is not so easy yet to get. Wesley must be in book. Maxim has to remember his stuff. Not sure if he does. Not quite sure.
Well, so far he seems to be in
He's taken
his
on
book
h4,
as
right?
well. Yeah, he took on h4.
He should know. The problem for Maxim is for anybody. There's so much to remember, and there's no guarantee that Wesley is going for this line. He could be playing 1 e4. There is the knight to remember. He will be playing 1 d4. There's the Grünfeld. There's absolutely no guarantee what's going to come. Here, so this is the modern chess. I mean, probably all the players of the tournament have studied this position and know the conclusions, but none of them remember it today. I hope for Maxim that he does.
Let's see what's going to happen in this one. How about the one between Daniel Deac? By the way, are you impressed with the way Deac is playing his last-minute replacement, the bottom seed in terms of rating, and he's just playing admirably? Right? Well,
when I was preparing for him on the first day, I knew him. At some point, I beat him in some training blitz match. I mean, it wasn't arranged. It was just on chess.com. Yeah.
Okay.
I challenged him. He has a high rating, so I thought, okay, nice. I still took some of his rating. So I never thought he's. He's obviously a talent, but I never thought he was anything all too
special.
To put things frankly. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think we speak of the next world champion or anything like that. I thought he could be a top player in the future, but nothing special. But then, as I had to prepare against him, I've realized that he's really well prepared. I started to realize that he's always following the trends, and he has a very dynamic opening repertoire. He plays all the hot things. Clearly he loves checking openings. That was obvious from his repertoire.
He works a lot.
Works a lot. And the one thing against him would be that it's one thing to work when you're facing people in the open tournaments. It's a little bit different level of work. Like, you don't go as deep. You go a little wider. You look for interesting positions where you stop also at the point when you think like, well, it's interesting, I'll probably beat my opponent because I'm stronger. But here it's different. He's playing opponents who are supposed to be stronger, so he has to stop further than usual. And I thought with so little time, he might not be able to switch because he has a lot of openings with black, but sometimes you need that fire-proof weapon. But he seems to have that as well. I don't know if he quickly, like now on the go, like every day he works and he made it up now, or if he had it ready just in case. I don't know, but he seems to be well prepped. And in this game, I think Levon did a great job. I think it's important that Levon won yesterday. He got some confidence. He's hoping for a good finish still, ambitious finish. And he does play for a win with the Najdorf. From the games I saw of Levon, whenever he plays Najdorf, he only does it when he's really desperate. So I don't think he knows it that well. I think it's more...
he's taking a big chance.
I mean, normally Najdorf is not a big risk. He could also be playing the Dragon, by the way. There is a new course on the Dragon.
Tell me about that.
Could be.
Tell me about that. I haven't seen you play the Dragon yet. That's
it's different.
There's no skin in the game.
Practice what you preach. No.
You have to convince us.
That's not how it works, Christian. The world, these politicians, all this, like, a lot of nonsense going on. People believe a lot of people are fooled, and you don't always have to put the money where the mouth is. But speaking of the money, this could have been the Dragon. We don't know. After Bishop b5 check, knight d7 is the way to keep more pieces.
Correct.
But to be honest, I know this very well. yeah, it is ambitious if white is completely unprepared. Of course, there is theory and white can play it quite safe. The system he went for, though, well, I definitely recommend the move e5. But I have to say, there are some drawish tendencies in these positions, because very often white can, if white wants to play ambitiously, he goes h3, wastes the time. But if white is not ambitious, he can just make some useful moves like that. And very often black's best is to do this, force the repetition. But if you want to play for a win, then white avoided the move h3, and maybe he has a small something.
So this line, in which course can we find? In the dragon or the Najdorf?
There's a course for every line, correct assumption. This one is in the Najdorf course. The dragon course I give here bishop d7. It's a little different. To be honest, I think at the top level, bishop d7 offers a more reliable approach, less lines for white, more compact. But of course, you trade a pair of bishops. So knight d7 is a more traditional way of trying to outclass your opponent. So e6 objectively is not the move. But if Lev gets a hedgehog,
he seems to be going for a
if he gets a hedgehog type structure without any direct
there's
e5
no c4
ever,
either. So
Well, actually, it's more of a sort of a Sicilian.
Yeah.
I think he's happy with
probably
the opening.
Something like b6. Maybe.
Yeah, if he can b6. Also, sometimes there is this idea of knight e5, and then white should. Well, if you were to take, then you get completely double-edged structure.
Yeah.
Knight on c3 is then bad. These pawns, of course, white has a majority on the queen side, but it's not going anywhere in the middle game. And black has got this f4 square. Sometimes knight goes, f5 comes. So there is some potential there. Also, you could go indeed for this hedgehog. Like black setup is hedgehog. White hasn't put pawn on c4 yet, but I think it transposes to one other theoretical position. It's actually not easy for black because I've got this knight d2 to c4 maneuver, pushing against that d6 pawn, and things get forced.
That's very interesting. So if you go bishop b7, now you're having some issues.
Yeah, I think actually it's bishop e3 first, because knight e2 is knight e5. I think this, suddenly we transpose to another line in bishop b5 check. That's, this is a big theory. But as the pawn structure disappeared, I think it's bishop f4, then queen c6, knight e3, I recall. This becomes very open, and a lot of trades happen. And this is, again, very, very drawish, very safe for white. White plays without risk. So Levon has to be careful not to fall into that, and I don't know if Deac knows this. Perhaps
he seems to be playing very fast, isn't he?
Knight 95, Levon.
No. Actually, Deac is thinking.
I like this 95. At least computer doesn't hate it, and I really like it because I think this. Allow that. Okay, fine.
You allow a5.
What to do? Yeah, you can't have it all. So you have to allow something. Then bishop comes to d7 plus 2c6, and white doesn't have anything concrete. And I think this is how it starts. Cool. So it's a good start for Levon. I really appreciate that he played the Najdorf. I am very curious what Levon knows. Maybe not the Najdorf or the Dragon. Could also be some classical Sicilian. Because Najdorf, I don't know what does Levon know in compared to Bogdan, who is playing Najdorf with both colors down the sharp lines. And
we're gonna have to ask him.
But Levon might have also studied my course. You never know.
That's what I'm gonna ask him. Okay, let's go to the last one. Radjabov versus.
Wow.
Another one, a classical.
Yeah. Wow. Today is a big day. Timur is going for it.
You think so?
Okay. Also, Timur's going for it. Also, he has no choice. His opponent is playing these openings that they don't even offer really a way to play it safe. It's not like he wants to play aggressively with black, but just his openings. Maybe it's because Constantin Lupulescu plays mostly the open tournaments. So, naturally, he's built his repertoire around these aggressive variations. And by now, it's very late for him to switch and suddenly play the solid Berlin. I mean, he can try, but he doesn't have any experience at all with e4, e5 on high level, or even on any level. So, it's not that easy. Even if you play the solid Berlin or Italians, you have to have some experience, at least. And so he still continues with that same approach against the very top players. That's going to lead to exciting games, but that's a whole different level of play and also a different level of prep by his opponents. So I hope for him he's better prepped.
To be honest, I did not expect him to repeat this line. I was expecting something
French,
a bit more reactionary.
At least I thought the French was more solid, but this line is also objectively okay. Just that.
Wait, there's another course on the French as well.
Oh, there's a course on the French. It's unbelievable. There's also a course on this stuff, but it's not by me. Okay. So let's not advertise that. The French, it happens naturally. I'm even mentioning French, not even to promote the course, but it's like part of me now. I effortlessly promote my courses. It's a full-time
job.
Yeah. But the good thing for Constantin is that he lost in this line horribly against Grischuk.
And hopefully he has something new.
And now, he of course was very carefully Because when you lose so horribly, you either stop playing, or if you do play the line again, you now already know the danger. You know you were last time too naive. So this time you really try to have it all nicely figured out. Radjabov is also prepared, but
he's thinking for a very long time.
Yeah, exciting
so we'll
games today.
Very exciting games. Anish, thank you very much for putting in some work after the game and joining us for the commentary.
Thank you for the free advertising space.
Always.
Thank you.
Always, Anish. Guys, back to you.